My name is Emily Carver, and I'm 32 years old. If you asked anyone who knows me, they'd say I'm steady. Not spontaneous, not reckless, steady. The kind of person who color codes receipts and finds peace in balancing numbers at midnight. 8 years in accounting, a modest two-bedroom house, and a savings account I've guarded like a secret garden. That's my life. Nothing extravagant, just stable. My boyfriend Ryan Hale teases me about how I even budget for spontaneity. My sister Claire thinks I'm boring. And my mother, well, Mom thinks stability means you're hiding something. Her name is Diane Carver. She's 53, a woman who can make guilt sound like love and love sound like obligation. The day everything began was just supposed to be about taxes. She came over with her organization binder, the one full of color tabs and sticky notes, and insisted on helping me sort my paperwork. I should have said no. When I stepped out to grab lunch, everything in my home still felt normal. The scent of coffee, the low hum of the air conditioner, the faint scratch of her pen moving across receipts. But when I came back, the air had changed. Mom sat behind my desk, shoulders stiff, holding a paper like it was a photograph of something shameful. Her eyes flicked up, wide and trembling. But there was something else there too. Calculation. "Emily," she said, voice trembling just enough to sound wounded. "Why didn't you tell me?" I didn't have to ask what she meant. The number was right there in bold black ink, 127,000. My savings, my safety net, my peace of mind. I froze. "That's my bank statement," I said quietly. "You shouldn't be looking at that." She frowned, a look I knew too well, the one that said, "Don't be ridiculous." "Oh, come on, it's not like I'm a stranger. I'm your mother." She laughed lightly, the sound sharp enough to slice. "But Emily, this is a lot of money. What could you possibly need with all of it?" "It's my emergency fund, retirement, maybe investments down the line." She waved her hand. "You already have a house. What more could you possibly need? Meanwhile, your sister is still wasting money on rent every month." That hit harder than I expected. Claire teaches middle school art. She works hard, but she doesn't make much. She's never once asked for my help, never hinted. And now Mom was weaponizing her against me. "Mom, that money isn't for anyone else. It's for my future." She tilted her head, the patronizing kind of tilt that means she's already decided she's right. "Emily, honey, family takes care of family. You've always been blessed with more. Maybe it's time you share a little." "Share what exactly?" She straightened, like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "I've been looking at houses for Claire. Small ones. Nice neighborhoods near her school. You could easily cover the down payment with this, and she'd finally stop throwing money away." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "You've been looking at houses?" "Of course," she smiled, triumphant. "I even found one with a big backyard. Perfect for when she decides to have kids." My pulse kicked up. "Mom, you can't spend money that isn't yours." "It's not spending, it's investing in family," she said, that calm tone she used when she thought I was being childish. "You wouldn't even feel it, and it's not like Claire would ever take advantage. You girls need to help each other." I sank into the nearest chair. "You had no right to go through my documents." "Oh, don't be dramatic. You left your laptop open last week when I was over. I just took a few photos of your files so I could understand your finances better. You're terrible at explaining things." My stomach dropped. "You did what?" She looked unbothered. "You really should be more careful. Anyone could see that information." I couldn't even speak. She'd photographed my financial files, my savings, investments, account numbers, all of it. I finally said, "That's a violation, Mom." She scoffed. "Violation? I'm your mother, Emily. I changed your diapers. Don't talk to me about privacy." Something in her tone, the way she said, "your money," like it was our money, made me realize this wasn't about concern. It was entitlement dressed up as love. "Mom, please," I said. "Stop looking for houses. Stop telling people about my savings. It's mine, not yours, not Claire's." Her lips tightened. "I'm disappointed in you." I laughed once, hollow. "Yeah, I got that." As she grabbed her purse, she paused at the door and looked back. "I still have the spare key, right? I'll let myself in next week to help with the rest of the paperwork." "I changed the locks," I lied. Her face went still. Then she smiled, a small, unnerving smile. "You'll come around. You always do." When the door closed behind her, the house fell silent, except for my own breathing. Sharp, uneven, terrified. I stared at the bank statement on my desk, the inked numbers glowing like a curse. A number I'd worked years for, a number that now had teeth. I called Ryan. When he picked up, I could barely get the words out. "She found out," I whispered. She knows about the money. He didn't ask how. He just said quietly, change every password, freeze your credit, and Emily, get cameras. I stared at the front door, where her shadow had been just minutes ago, and realized something chilling. My mother wasn't just crossing a line. She was drawing new ones for me to trip over. And she wasn't finished. It's been 3 days since that afternoon, and every time my phone buzzes, my chest tightens. Mom's texts have become a flood. Links to listings, photos of potential homes, even messages like, Claire deserves stability too. Ryan keeps telling me to ignore them. But that's easier said than done when you've been trained your whole life to answer your mother, no matter what tone she uses. When she finally called, her voice all soft edges and regret, she said, can we talk over coffee? Just the two of us. I want to make things right. I wanted to believe her. So, stupidly, I said yes. The cafe was one of those cozy spots with hanging lights and chalkboard menus. It smelled like cinnamon and second chances. For about 2 seconds, I actually thought she meant it. Then I saw who was sitting with her. My stomach dropped. At the corner table, my mother, my sister Claire, and my Aunt Margaret. Mom smiled, lifting her cup as I approached. Emily, we grabbed a seat. I hope you don't mind. My throat went dry. You said it was just us. I know, but your aunt's been worried too, and Claire should be part of this conversation. The words part of this conversation felt like a trapdoor. I sat, every nerve screaming. Claire gave me an apologetic look, the kind that says I didn't plan this, but Aunt Margaret was already leaning forward, eyes bright with interest. We've been talking about family values, she said. Your mother tells us you've done very well for yourself. I forced a polite smile. I work hard, that's all. Mom set down her coffee cup with deliberate precision. And you've been blessed. Claire's been struggling with rent, and we were brainstorming ways to help her, as a family. Claire's cheeks flushed. Mom, please. Mom held up a hand. Honey, let me finish. I've already done some research. There are 3-bedroom homes near Claire's school district, safe neighborhoods, good schools, reasonable prices. With Emily's savings, a 20% down payment would be easy. My heart started pounding. You've been house shopping with my money again? She gave a patient smile, the kind she used when I was 10 and didn't want to practice piano. It's not your money. It's family money. You don't hoard family money. Aunt Margaret nodded solemnly, like a jury member. When your grandparents were alive, they always helped their children buy their first homes. We were raised to believe family lifts each other. I stared at her, speechless. Was this an intervention? Mom reached for her phone. Look, here's a house on Lakewood Drive. Claire would love it. With your down payment, her mortgage would only be... Mom! Claire finally burst out. Stop. This is humiliating. Emily doesn't owe me anything. For a moment, silence. Then Mom's face hardened. She shouldn't have to ask for help. That's what family does. I looked at Claire, who looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Her hands trembled in her lap. Mom told me you offered, she whispered. I told her that wasn't right. I closed my eyes. I didn't offer, and she knows that. Mom's voice sharpened. Watch your tone. I turned to her, my own tone flat. Watch your boundaries. Aunt Margaret gasped, like I'd cursed in church. Mom leaned back, crossing her arms. You think you're better than us now. Is that it? You've forgotten who helped you when you were starting out. You mean the person who went through my files and stole my bank information? Her jaw tightened. Don't dramatize. I looked. I didn't steal. Taking photos of my computer screen without permission is stealing, Mom. She waved a dismissive hand. You wouldn't even have those savings if I hadn't raised you to be disciplined. I laughed, low and shaky. You raised me to be afraid of being poor. The table went silent. Even the barista stopped clinking spoons. Mom's nostrils flared, but before she could speak, Claire did. Her voice was small but steady. Emily's right. I don't want your money. I don't want a house that ruins our family. Mom's eyes narrowed. She's poisoning you against me. No, Mom, Claire whispered. You're doing that all by yourself. Mom's hands trembled, and for the first time I saw something flicker. Hurt, maybe, or disbelief that her control wasn't working. I'm your mother, she said. Everything I do is for you girls. Then stop destroying us in the process, I said quietly. I stood, slid a few bills under my untouched coffee, and left. Mom called after me, but I didn't look back. The sound of her voice bounced against the cafe walls like an echo that didn't know it had lost its meaning. Outside, the air felt sharper. Ryan's car was waiting by the curb. He saw my face and didn't ask. Instead, he reached over, took my hand, and said, We'll handle it. Whatever she does next, we'll be ready. I didn't know what next meant yet, but something deep down told me Mom wasn't finished. This was only her opening move. I used to think my mother's greatest weapon was guilt. I was wrong. It's persistence. Quiet, tireless persistence that wears you down, grain by grain, until you can't tell if you're defending yourself or just trying to breathe between battles. 2 weeks after the cafe ambush, I started getting strange calls. The first one came on a Thursday afternoon while I was wrapping up a client report. "Hi, this is Karen Doyle from Maple Realty. I'm just confirming our appointment for Saturday. We'll be touring 3 homes for your sister." I frowned. "I'm sorry, what appointment?" "Your mother, Diane, scheduled it. She said you'd be financing the down payment. We have you listed as co-buyer." For a few seconds, I couldn't even form words. "That's not true," I said finally. "I'm not buying anyone a house." Karen hesitated. "Oh, she was very specific. Mentioned your savings account and employment details. I can cancel the showings if you'd like." "Cancel everything," I said, my voice shaking. "Immediately, please." By the time I hung up, my hands were trembling so hard I could barely grip the phone. Ryan looked up from the kitchen table where he'd been working. "What happened?" "She's at it again," I whispered. "She's telling realtors I'm buying Claire a house." He closed his laptop slowly. "You need to document this, Em. Every call, every message." I already sent her that text, the one warning her to stop. "And she ignored it," he said, "which means this isn't just boundary crossing anymore. This is fraud territory." He was right. I didn't want him to be, but he was. I spent the next hour calling credit bureaus, freezing my credit, setting up alerts, adding 2-factor authentication to every account. It felt ridiculous, like I was putting on armor against my own mother. Then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, another email arrived that evening. Subject line: Mortgage pre-approval documents. Urgent. Attached were 3 PDFs. The forms were partially filled out, with my name, address, employer, salary, and social security number. The co-borrower line listed Claire Carver. I stared at it, my pulse hammering in my ears. Ryan leaned over my shoulder, reading the screen. "She used your information." I nodded numbly. She really did it. "This isn't a misunderstanding anymore," he said quietly. "It's identity theft." That night, I called Daniel Price, an old college friend turned attorney. He listened without interrupting, then said, "You need to send a cease and desist letter immediately. Make it official, and you'll want to alert your bank in case she tries to access any accounts." He drafted the letter for me that night, formal, cold, ironclad. It said, in essence, "Any attempt to use my personal or financial information without consent will result in legal action." I sent it by certified mail the next morning. Mom called 3 hours later. "What the hell is this?" she hissed through the phone. "A letter threatening your own mother?" I kept my voice level. "You gave out my private financial information, Mom. That's illegal." "It's not illegal," she said. "It's family. I was just trying to help things move faster." "By filling out a mortgage application in my name?" "I didn't submit it," she snapped. "I was preparing. Don't act like I forged your signature." "Yet," I said quietly. She went silent. When she spoke again, her tone had that icy sweetness that made my skin crawl. "You'd really have your mother arrested over trying to help your sister?" "Stop twisting it," I said. "You need to stop, Mom, for everyone's sake." The silence stretched until it broke with a low, shaking breath. "You've changed, Emily. Money's made you cruel." "No, Mom," I said softly, "and it's made you desperate." I hung up before she could reply. By evening, the entire extended family knew. My Aunt Margaret texted, "We all make mistakes when trying to help loved ones. Maybe don't escalate things." My cousin Hannah wrote, "Can't believe you sent your mom a lawyer letter. That's intense." But then Claire called, her voice shaking. "Emily, I swear I didn't know about the mortgage thing. She told me you'd offered. I told her not to involve me." "I know," I said. "You've been honest." "She's been spiraling," Claire whispered. "She's not even sleeping. Keeps talking about how Dad doesn't understand and how you'll thank her when it's done." "Done?" "She's found a realtor she likes. She said they're close to making an offer." I pressed a hand to my forehead. Oh my God. Claire exhaled shakily. "I'm staying with a coworker for a while. I can't deal with her like this." "Good," I said. "Stay safe. I'll handle the rest." That night, I installed 2 security cameras, one by the front door, one facing the driveway. Ryan helped me set up a new P.O. box, just in case. Before bed, I scrolled through social media, desperate for distraction, and found the last thing I needed to see. A GoFundMe. "Help Claire buy her first home," posted by Diane Carver. The description read like a guilt-trap press release. "My eldest daughter is selfless and hardworking. My youngest has been blessed with success but has forgotten the meaning of family. I'm trying to raise funds to help my girls reconnect through love and stability. She'd even included my job title, my income range. Hundreds of people had shared it. Donations, $450 and counting. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. Ryan took the phone from my hand. We'll report it. I'll help. I nodded, but my voice came out hollow. I don't think this is about houses anymore. He frowned. Then what is it? I swallowed hard. Control. She's not building a home for Claire. She's trying to build one around me, and she won't stop until I live inside it. I didn't sleep that night. The camera light blinked outside my window, a tiny, unblinking eye. And I realized something I never thought I'd say. I wasn't afraid of losing my money anymore. I was afraid of losing my mother, to whatever she'd become. By the time the next storm hit, I thought I'd seen every trick my mother had in her playbook. I was wrong again. 3 weeks after the GoFundMe disaster, I was at work when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something in me said, answer it. Ms. Carver, this is Ethan Caldwell from Caldwell Realty Group. His tone was professional, but hesitant. I just need to confirm the details for the purchase agreement on the Maple Drive property. My heart stopped. What agreement? The house your mother, Mrs. Carver, said you're helping your sister with. We're scheduled to close in 2 weeks. I just need your signature and proof of funds. My hands went cold. Mr. Caldwell, I have no agreement with you. I'm not purchasing any house. A pause, then confusion. But your sister already gave notice at her rental. Your mother told us you'd already wired part of the down payment. We've even received inspection reports under your name. For a second, all I could hear was the blood pounding in my ears. She'd gone further than ever before, into full-blown fabrication. I'm sorry, I said. You've been misled. Everything my mother told you is false. Please destroy any paperwork with my name on it. He exhaled, clearly rattled. This is serious, Ms. Carver. I'll have to alert my broker. There could be legal implications if signatures were forged. Do whatever you need to, I said quietly. But I'm not the buyer. I never agreed to anything. I hung up and immediately dialed Claire. She answered on the first ring, already crying. Emily, please don't hate me. I just found out what Mom did. She told me you'd changed your mind, that this was your way of making things right. She lied to you, I said. Again. I know. I gave my landlord my 30-day notice because she said it was all finalized. I even started packing. Her voice cracked. I don't have anywhere to go now. The ache in my chest was unbearable. You can stay here, I said, until you figure things out. There was silence, then a broken laugh. She's turned us against each other, hasn't she? She's not the same, Claire. I pressed my hand against my forehead. This isn't just manipulation anymore, it's obsession. That night, I drove to my parents' house, against every warning Ryan and Daniel had given me. Mom answered the door like she'd been waiting. Her hair was neat, her smile bright, but her eyes... They had that too sweet glaze of someone who'd rehearsed a defense. Emily, she said, I was just about to call you. You've made such a mess of this situation. A mess? I stepped inside. You used my name on a real estate contract. You lied to a broker, told Claire to give notice, and now she's practically homeless. What part of that isn't a mess you made? She crossed her arms. I did it because you wouldn't. You've become so selfish, hoarding money while your sister struggles. I had to intervene. Intervene? I almost laughed. You forged documents. You're lucky I don't go to the police. Her face hardened. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I said, my voice steady for once. Behind her, I saw my father, David, standing near the dining room doorway. He looked smaller somehow, like he'd been living in the shadow of this madness for months. Diane, he said quietly, maybe you should listen to her. Mom whirled on him. Don't you start. You've been useless in all this. Someone has to look out for our daughters. By committing fraud? I asked. By fixing things, she snapped. If you had any decency, you'd thank me. Do you know how embarrassed I was when the realtor called and said you backed out? Everyone in our family thinks you've gone cold-hearted. I took a step closer. And whose fault is that, Mom? You've been telling everyone lies about me. I told them the truth, she said, that my daughter forgot where she came from. Dad's voice broke the tension like a sudden clap. Enough, Diane. She froze. I'd never heard him sound so firm. You've lost your mind over this, he said softly. You're tearing this family apart. Her eyes filled with tears, but not the kind that came from guilt, the kind that came from being challenged. She turned to me. If you had just done the right thing, none of this would have happened. There's no right thing that involves stealing, Mom, I said. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. Finally, Dad moved between us. Emily, go home. I'll handle this. I hesitated. She needs help. I know, he said quietly. I'm starting to see that. When I walked out, Mom's voice followed me down the hall. Smaller now, cracked around the edges. You'll regret this one day. But as I stepped into the cool night air, I knew the opposite was true. If I didn't draw the line tonight, I'd regret that forever. Over the next few days, the fallout spread like wildfire. Mom told relatives I'd threatened her. Aunt Margaret called crying, saying the family was worried about her stress levels. Claire moved into my guest room temporarily. Watching her unpack her boxes, art supplies, worn-out sketchbooks, half-finished canvases, I realized how twisted it all was. The person Mom claimed to be protecting was the one she'd hurt most. One night, Claire looked up from a pile of boxes. Do you ever wonder what made her like this? I thought about the years of control, the constant need to manage everything and everyone. But this was different. It wasn't just controlling anymore. It was delusional. I think something snapped, I said, and she's convinced the only way to fix it is through me. Claire nodded, quiet. She called while you were at work. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. What did she say? She said she forgave us. I laughed under my breath, bitter. Forgave us. Claire smiled sadly. It's like she's living in her own version of events. I looked out the window, toward the streetlights reflecting off wet pavement, and said what we were both thinking. This isn't over. Not yet. I thought the quiet that followed meant the storm was finally over. I should have known better. For nearly a month, there were no phone calls, no messages, no family updates forwarded by distant aunts. It was eerie, like the calm after a wildfire. You can't tell if it's peace or just the air holding its breath before the next spark. Then, one Monday morning, my dad called. His voice was weary, frayed at the edges. Emily, he said softly, there was an incident at the bank. My stomach dropped. What kind of incident? He sighed. Your mother tried to access your old savings account, the one you opened when you were 16. She told the teller she was you. I closed my eyes. Oh my God. She got upset when they refused. Security had to escort her out. Dad. I know, he said quickly. I know this isn't normal. I told her she needed help, real help. I gave her an ultimatum. Therapy, or I'd leave. The silence on the line said everything he couldn't. So she agreed? He hesitated, then said, yes, she's seeing a doctor now. They think it's an adjustment disorder, anxiety triggered by financial stress. I sank into my couch, staring at nothing. It was strange, part relief, part heartbreak. Because even with everything she'd done, the word disorder hit differently. It made her sound human again. Dad continued. She and I had more debt than she told anyone, investments gone bad, a line of credit she didn't want me to know about. When she found out about your savings, she started fixating on it. She thought if she could just redirect it, it would fix everything. I pressed my hand over my mouth. So this wasn't just about control. No, he said quietly. It was about panic. That night I told Claire. We sat at the kitchen table, her sketchbook open but untouched. I don't even know how to feel, she admitted. Angry? Sad? Both? Both, I said. Probably forever. Claire nodded slowly, tracing circles on the page. I keep thinking about how she used to stay up late helping us with homework. Remember how she'd leave little notes in our lunches? Yeah, I smiled faintly. She used to write, "You're my sunshine" on mine, every single day. Now the same woman had tried to steal my identity. It didn't make sense. None of it did. A week later, Dad invited us to meet the family therapist. I wasn't ready, but I went anyway. When I walked into the counselor's office, Mom looked smaller, thinner, like someone had turned down her brightness. She sat with her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Her eyes flicked up when I entered. Emily? I nodded, sitting across from her. Claire sat beside me, arms folded. The therapist, a calm woman with silver hair, smiled gently. Diane, would you like to start? Mom swallowed hard. I didn't realize how far I'd gone. I just thought I was fixing things. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Her voice cracked. The first real fracture I'd heard in months. Claire whispered, You forged documents, Mom. You lied to everyone. You hurt us. I know. Tears welled up in Mom's eyes. I was scared. Your father and I were drowning in debt. When I saw Emily's savings, it felt like a way to breathe again. Like all I had to do was rearrange things and everything would go back to normal. I stayed quiet, my jaw tight. I thought I was protecting our family, she continued, but I was just protecting my fear. For a moment, the room was still. The therapist nodded. It's good that you're recognizing that. Healing starts with honesty. Mom turned toward me. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm sorry, Emily, truly. The words hung in the air, fragile, trembling, real. I wanted to believe her, but a part of me still remembered the panic of seeing my name on fraudulent documents, the way she'd smiled when she said family money. I appreciate the apology, I said quietly, but forgiveness takes time. Her chin trembled. I'll wait. In the weeks that followed, things shifted. Mom started regular therapy. Dad stayed firm, supportive, but distant. He told me privately that he was considering separation if she relapsed. Claire found a new apartment across town. Bright, small, and hers. She started tutoring kids after school to make extra income. She joked that Mom's chaos had forced her into financial independence. Ryan and I started talking about the future. Marriage, maybe. But every time he mentioned merging finances, I tensed without meaning to. The paranoia didn't go away overnight. Then, one afternoon, Dad dropped by with a small box. Inside were the spare keys to my house. Your mother insisted on returning them, he said. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental. He hesitated before leaving. You know, Emily, she's not cured. She's trying. That's something. I nodded. Trying is all I can ask for right now. After he left, I placed the keys in my desk drawer, next to the folder that had started it all. And for the first time in months, the house felt quiet, not haunted. But I knew better than to think this was the end. Families like ours don't tie things up neatly. They just stop unraveling long enough to catch their breath. It's been 4 months since the day my mother tried to buy a house with my money. 4 months since my family splintered, then slowly began to stitch itself back together. Unevenly, awkwardly, but with real thread this time. Sometimes I still wake up expecting another phone call, another lie, another disaster waiting at the end of the line. But the phone stays silent now. That silence used to scare me. Now it feels like peace. Last week, a letter arrived in my mailbox. Real ink, real paper, my mother's handwriting on the envelope, small and careful. For a long time, I couldn't bring myself to open it. I left it on the counter while I made coffee, folded laundry, pretended to scroll through emails. Then finally, I sat down and tore it open. Inside was a single page. Emily, I'm sorry. I lost myself in fear and made you my solution instead of my daughter. I thought I was protecting our family, but I was really trying to fix something inside me. I know I can't undo what I did, but I hope someday you'll forgive me. I'm working on getting better. Love, Mom. It wasn't much, but it was something real. I read it 3 times, then tucked it into a drawer. Not out of anger, but because I wasn't ready to display it. Not yet. Dad says therapy is helping. Mom's been volunteering at a community center, teaching financial literacy to people who've struggled with debt. He told me she talks about the dangers of entitlement, but never mentions me directly. That's okay. Maybe someday she will. Claire and I see each other every week now. She's thriving, brighter than I've seen her in years. Her new apartment is small, but filled with her art. Sunflowers, rain-soaked streets, people who look both lonely and alive. When I visited last Sunday, she laughed and said, "Turns out independence looks good on me." We both laughed, but there was a sadness under it, because we know what that independence cost. Ryan and I are still together. He's patient, steady, never pushes. When he offered to help me build an emergency fund together, I smiled and said, I already have one, but maybe we can build something different. Trust. He nodded. That's worth more than savings anyway. He's wrong and right. Money isn't evil, but it's powerful. It reveals what people hide when they're scared. I've learned that the hard way. A few weeks ago, I opened a separate savings account, not for myself, but for the future. I called it the Carver Fund. It's small now, just a few thousand, but it's for my niece or nephew someday. Claire doesn't know yet. When she becomes a mother, I'll surprise her. Not with guilt, not with conditions, with love. That's the kind of help I want to give, the kind that doesn't cost anyone their peace. I still have the folder with my original bank statement inside, the one my mother found that started it all. The paper is wrinkled at the edges, the ink slightly faded, but every time I look at it, I'm reminded of something. Money didn't break us. Secrets did, entitlement did, fear did. And yet somehow what came after, boundaries, therapy, time, began to glue the pieces back together. Mom's letter was the first apology. Mine came silently, the choice to keep the door unlocked for the future, even if I never open it all the way. Last night, I sat on my porch with Ryan, watching the sky dim into that dusky lavender that makes you forget the world's sharp edges for a while. He asked, "Do you ever think you'll really forgive her?" I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who kept folders perfectly labeled and thought control could keep her safe, about the woman I am now, a little harder, a little wiser, but still hopeful. I don't know, I said, but I think I can understand her now, and that's a start. He nodded, squeezed my hand. The cicadas buzzed, the air smelled like rain on concrete, and for the first time in almost a year, I didn't feel like my life was on fire. Just quiet, balanced mine. When I went back inside, I opened my journal and wrote a single line. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you can choose to open when you're ready. Then I closed it, locked the door, and turned off the lights. The house felt peaceful, not because the past had vanished, but because I'd finally learned how to live with it. My name is Emily Carver, and this was the year I learned that love doesn't mean surrender. It means standing your ground, even when the person pushing against you is the one who taught you how to stand in the first place.